It's bigger. It's louder. It's better than ever. This still isn't your typical motorsports podcast. This is the 10th anniversary of Crush This, a monster truck podcast brought to you by J Concepts. For 10 years, your hosts, the monster truck Canucker Bradshaw and Dan Chichagash, have brought you into the minds and personalities of the monster truck industry. Strap in and hold on tight. This is Crush This!
And what is going on, everybody? It is Bradshaw, aka the Monster Truck Canucker. Welcome to a brand new episode of Crush This. This is gonna be an awesome episode, guys. If you're noticing, Cheech is not here this week. He is currently in Austin, Texas, doing the Texas State Fair with the Raminator ride truck. If you're down in the Texas area, Austin, Texas, go check out Cheech. Go get a ride on the Raminator ride truck with him. One of the cool things that Hall Brothers Racing does is the activation with Ram trucks and the Stellantis group. So go check out what he's doing down there. Thank you for Cheech for covering for me last week's episode. I was still currently working, but right now I am on days off, basically. Kind of jobless in a way, I guess. Due to the melting and spring weather here in Alberta, Canada, I am currently off of work. It's a thing called spring breakup. It's too wet, too muddy to go work in the oil field. So for the next few months, I'm just going to be, just hanging out and doing this, doing some graphic design work, doing some stuff for a guy in the NHRA. His first race is this weekend, Travis Shoemake. Go check that out down in Phoenix. But today's episode is going to be a good one. We have Mr. Alex Bardin from Team Throttle Monster. He used to be with the Michael Harper outfit there. Was with Team Stone Crusher last year. Been with a couple other teams. Going to be an awesome chat. I got to actually meet Alex last year at World Finals. Just happenstance, was just sitting with a friend. All of a sudden, Alex comes over, starts talking to us, and it was kind of neat getting to meet somebody new in the industry that I'd talked to and message with previous, but getting to meet him last year was really cool. Guys, couple things before we get into the episode. As always, go check out our buddies over at Monster Truck Attitude. Steve Jones, the team Crush This Motorsports is doing great in if you're into the downhill diecast monster truck racing, go check out Monster Truck Attitude. Go check out our merch store. It helps us out with the costs of the StreamYard and other things we do. So go check that out. It's all down there on the bottom there. Our buddy Bryce Kenny in his book, Geared for Life, Making a Shift into Your Full Potential. Go check that out. Me and Cheech have both read it. We had Bryce on a couple months ago, and that was awesome to have him on. He's kicking ass this year back in Monster Mutt, the original truck he debuted in back, I forget what year now at this point. Man, I feel old sometimes when I mention that kind of stuff. Go check out our buddies over at jconcepts.net. Jconcepts is the presenting sponsor of Crush This. If you want some cool RC stuff, bodies, tires, you name it, jconcepts.net, and use our code CRUSHTHIS for 15% off all your items. And go check out monstersmonthly.com. They have a page on our website that shows on their website that shows every episode that we have done so far. If you don't have any podcast listening devices or applications on your phone, go check those guys out. Awesome what they do for us. Thank you to Monsters Monthly for jumping on board with us. Go check out Mark Werner, MW1 Entertainment. But guys, after this quick little ad for Backshot Productions with Nick Davis, also celebrating his 10th year anniversary, we are going to get into our conversation with Mr. Alex Bardin. Stay tuned, everybody. And like I said, guys, we are live here with Mr. Alex Bardin. Alex, how's it going, buddy?
Going good, Brad. Happy to be here. I've tuned in and watched the Crush This podcast before. Avid viewer. Finally, happy to have the opportunity to be here and hang out with you guys.
Well, it's awesome to finally have you on, man. And, like I mentioned at the beginning, getting to meet you last year at World Finals, kind of unexpected, but, it was awesome to be able to finally meet you. And, I've kind of followed your journey, when you stepped in, getting in the industry. So let's go back to the beginning, kind of how we always like to do on the show. How did you get into this crazy world that we all love called monster trucks?
That's a good question. So I'm a first generation monster truck driver. I didn't really have anybody's footsteps to follow in. I kind of had to make my own path. I grew up a fan my entire life. I went to my first Monster Jam event when I was 4 years old in the Houston Astrodome. Saw Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger there. And when I heard Bad of the Bone come on for the first time, and I want to say there was around 50,000 people there. And, people, it was the end of the event. People were heading to their cars, heading to the parking lot to head home. And when Bad of the Bone came on, everybody stopped what they were doing, turned and faced that stadium floor. And for the next 2 minutes, Dennis Anderson had their attention. And that's when I fell in love with monster trucks. I knew at that point on that I don't want to say I wanted to be that guy, but I wanted to be on that floor where all eyes were on me. And so, I just grew up a fan. I would go to events and do anything I could. I started actually as like club help, painting the track, hanging banners, doing just whatever I could just to get my foot in the door, to get my name out there. Back in 2012, January 7th, 2012, in Victoria, Texas, I met Michael Harper, who owned the Outlaw Monster team. And, years prior, I asked many drivers how I would get started in the industry. And honestly, the only person to give me the time and day and an opportunity was Michael Harper. And from January 7th, 2012, until, winter of 2023, I was there with Mike Harper, with Outlaw, with Monster Truck Wars, doing that deal. And honestly, I got my foot in the door because he gave me a chance, and he took a chance on a random kid that, I didn't really know much. I wasn't a mechanic by any means. And I'm still not a mechanic. I can fix and work on monster trucks, but if I got a problem in my Ford F-150, I'm taking that to a Ford dealership somewhere, because I'm not a mechanic. I am a monster truck mechanic. If anything monster truck related, I can pretty much handle. Daily driver, I'm going to let somebody else handle. But no, he gave me my opportunity, and I learned a lot from there, and his place in Decatur, Texas, and running up and down the road with his trucks and his events. And really, I owe a lot to him for giving a random kid a chance.
I love that your story there about Dennis, and Bad of the Bone starts, and it's just like, what? And like, I remember, like, when I was growing up, it was, TNN Motor Madness and, Trucks and Tractor Power. That's what suckered me into the sport, and, Bigfoot and all that. And the Michael Harper has been such a steadfast person in the sport with Texas. If you think of monster trucks in Texas, there's a few people that you think of, Pablo, David Smith, and Michael Harper. Mm-hmm. Those three names are some of the biggest that ever have come from Texas. And, Michael Harper is his shows, what he does for the industry has been such a good thing. And, bringing back so many classic names, Outlaw, brought back Thunder Chicken. Talk about your time with him and just all the, like, cause that man's been in the industry for such a long time. Talk about, when you first started with him and just what he was able to teach you about the industry with his years of experience.
Man, I want to say probably 90% of what I know how to do on these trucks now, it stems from, just working there with Monster Truck Wars. Really, there it was kind of, I wasn't just a monster truck driver or a mechanic. I also, there was times where I got the merch ready to go, and or painted the track or ran the floor. I drive the semi, whatever it is. So it was a really good place to honestly get a good foundation to what this industry is, and honestly what the industry can become. He's taught me everything for how to rebuild shocks, to rebuild thirds, to changing motors. Like I said, when I first met Mike in 2012, I was just a random kid. I knew the main specs of a monster truck, like 66-inch tires, 1,500 horsepower, whatever, 540 big block Chevy. But I didn't understand all the internal working components, and from working there at Monster Truck Wars and, everything that Harper taught me, I've really been able to see that monster trucks are just like one big mechanical puzzle, that everything has a place. Every puzzle piece has a place on the truck, and everything should work together happily to make the monster truck work happy as well. And, there at Monster Truck Wars, I built, I built 8 trucks there. Which if you would have asked me in 2012, if I would have went and thought I was going to build 8 monster trucks over the next, couple of years of my life, I would have called you insane if you told me that's what I was going to do. But, I did, and I learned a lot, and I'm very thankful for everything that I learned, because the things that I learned there, I'm still using to this day to not only apply in my own practices, but also teach other people too.
The one cool thing that I've always thought with Michael Harper is the event that he did a couple years ago, the TNT Motorsports Unfinished Business. Because I know that he has deep ties into the TNT era. Were you a part of that show, getting it set up and the behind the scenes? Like, how was doing that and putting that together? One final big event send off for TNT.
I was involved in that, myself, Berto Trevino, he was involved too. We played pretty big roles in everything, from making the advertisements to the posters to the event, all the media that really kind of pushed the event, kind of setting up the podcasts for, Harper to go on the Scott Douglas, podcast to talk about it. And that was a really, really cool event. Honestly, I think that was one of the coolest, if not the coolest, monster truck event ever done. You bring 6 guys back from the late 80s, early 90s, and some of these guys haven't driven a truck in 15, 20 years, and just to see those guys, I think what was the coolest thing about that entire weekend, honestly, was all those guys came back together, and it was like they didn't miss a beat. It was like they, when they quit racing monster trucks, and they all went their separate ways. Some of them fell off, some of them stayed in touch, but when they all got back together, it was like they never quit racing. It was literally one big family. They picked right up where they left off in those trucks. The stage 3 trucks that they drove there. Some of them have, the first thing that they drove, the only thing that they've driven is was a stage 1, and just to see what those guys were able to do in modern trucks, it was almost like it was inspiring for myself, because I did grow up watching those guys, and hearing Scott Douglas and Army Armstrong on the mic commentating an event live with my own eyes, hearing it with my own ears, and witnessing it. It was like I was watching a VHS tape of my childhood, but in real time.
In seeing, like you mentioned, like some of these guys, that hadn't driven a truck in years. Look at Greg Holbrook. He, once David Morris stepped into that truck, once he got back in that truck, we didn't see from him in years, and he comes out and it's like you said, no time had passed. And another cool thing, I'm pretty sure that you drove the Equalizer after that.
The Equalizer truck that we debuted there in Raleigh was the truck that Berto actually went on to drive. And then after Preston Collins went on to drive it as well. I drove the square body Chevy Outlaw that was there. That truck came out at the very, and that was actually the backup Outlaw truck to the actual competing truck. All the trucks there, they had a backup chassis that the driver could get into if they needed to. So if Holbrook, if something happened with the equalizer that he was in, then he was ready to hop into the other equalizer, just so that the equalizer was still out there.
The one thing that I've always found interesting with Michael Harper is the different kind of trucks, like the different kind of chassis he has, because I've seen Race Source, Patrick, the Willman men's style chassis, which he's known for driving as well. His main truck is that style. So out of the trucks that he had that you got to drive, which trucks did you like the best and the least when you drove for Michael?
So out of the trucks I've driven, a Metal Shop, Race Source, and I believe that's it. And honestly, I would say like the PEI truck is the truck that I drove as Shark Attack, as El Oso Loco, and Outlaw and everything like that. That's the truck I have the most seat time in. So I think that was the truck that I was most comfortable in for sure. But honestly, I think best performing truck and funnest truck to drive was the front engine Willman. That thing would fly through the air effortlessly. It would fly higher, land better, and it took a little bit more. It took a little bit of time to get used to the weight difference, with the motor being in the front, most of the weight being in the front of the truck. But once you got over that, and the thing that you really had to get used to was the no sway bars and the coilovers, the body roll and lean. The first time I drove that truck was my first year driving, and it was my hometown event. And we come out for intros, and I'm leading intros. We go to the first turn, and that was the first time I really drove that truck with speed. I moved it around before, loaded in the trailer, parked it for pit party, but never like really get up and go. So we're doing hot intros and hit the rear steer and make a left-hand turn, and I thought I was rolling over right there in intros, but it was just the lean of that truck. And I'll tell you one thing. I went back and I had another opportunity to drive that truck in the summer of 2023. I did a lot better with it then, but also it wasn't my first year driving then. I had a couple of years under my belt, and we did 4 events that week, and I drove it in Arizona, and I won. Out of the 12 possible competitions that you could have won, I won 11 of the 12. And honestly, people like, Neil Elliott, Mike Harper, Tom Mentz, that can wheel those trucks around, the Willman style non-sway bars, like it's riding a bike. I mean, mad props to them, because you have your hands full in that thing the entire time, because the entire time feels like you're about to crash. I mean, it is the definition of controlled chaos.
Like it boggles my mind that was 1 year, the first trucks that you drove in your first year competing. It's like you just threw you in the most complicated, difficult truck to drive.
Yeah, and I mean, up until that point, I was it was Thunder Chicken at the time, PEI chassis, had Clark's under it. And obviously sway bars and everything like that, nitrogen shocks. And I mean, that truck, there's no lean to it at all. It was just like any other monster truck, 90% of the monster trucks out there today, the standard setup type deal. So that's what I was accustomed to. And, you get thrown into a totally different beast for your hometown event. You got family, friends in the stands, and, you want to do a good job. And I mean, it was like I was riding a bull the entire time, trying not to get bucked off. That's for sure.
Like I know this probably isn't like a realistic thing, but like I do beam and all that, like, and I have like my racing wheel set up. I can't drive a Patrick or a CRD in that game worth anything, but you throw me in a Willman Mentz chassis, I feel like I'm invisible in that thing. For some reason, that I don't know, just the way that truck is made in beam, that thing handles amazingly. Like you could just whip it around corners flat out, and it just takes it. it just shows like with how long Tom has been in that kind of a style of truck before his, you know, accident and retirement. It just shows how well that truck design has made it.
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure. And actually a couple months ago, it was our first event out of the year. We were in Springfield, Missouri. Jack Willman Sr. was there, and I didn't recognize him at first, but he was wearing an old school Taurus hat. And then I saw the hat. I saw the Taurus hat, and I was going up to compliment him on his hat, and then I saw who it was. And we sat there and talked about, you know, the progression of his Taurus trucks to, you know, what other trucks were doing at the time, and, you know, what monster trucks are doing now. And, you know, just the weight advantage of the Willman style chassis, and the ZF housings, you know, compared to Clark's or Pettibones or whatever it may be. I mean, it's like a cinder block to a feather, you know, like you're comparing it. The ZF stuff weighs next to nothing. It's a lot more responsive whenever you're for steering, for stopping, for everything. And so the ZF stuff is really nice. But the only problem with ZF stuff is there's not a lot of it out there. They don't make any new parts. So what's out there is what's out there.
Yeah, and Bigfoot ran ZFs for a long time, and now they're doing their own axles and such, from what I've seen. But you know, with your time with Harper, you know, we've seen you do a couple of appearances with the Cretan team, you know, driving Bounty Hunter and all that. How did that kind of come along?
Yeah, so that was back in the summer of 2019. That was my first full year driving. I started driving just some select events in 2018, but 2019 was my first full season behind the wheel of a monster truck. And, you know, that just kind of came up as, you know, Mike and Jimmy are, you know, they're friends. And Jimmy just, you know, he asked Mike if he knew anybody that would come and fill in. We weren't running any Monster Truck Wars events during the summer. That was actually the summer where we were stripping trucks down and rebuilding them, making them fresh for the 2020 year. And so, you know, Harper kind of pitched my name to Jimmy, and Jimmy knew me through just, you know, seeing me at Monster Jam Club, help, track crew, all that stuff. So he recognized my name. And the first event that I did for Jimmy was in Brookville, Pennsylvania. I was driving Jekyll and Hyde, and Nick with Back Channel was there. You can actually go to his YouTube channel and watch that event. It's on there. I go back and look at that. You know, I watch that video often. And then, you know, that led into, you know, me doing my first Monster Jam events as well in Salinas, California. And then, June.
Sorry, you cut out there on my end there. What was it like, you know, going into doing Monster Jam events basically in your first full year as a driver? Because that's something that not a lot of people can say that they've done. Because I know if you want to, I believe if you want to drive for Monster Jam now, you gotta have to go through a kind of a, you know, a system where you got to go to Paxton and do some training and get used to their ways of doing it. How was that in your rookie year, getting the chance to do some Monster Jam events?
You know, it was incredible because, I mean, anyone that drives monster trucks, I think at some point they have, maybe not everyone, but the majority of people probably have the aspirations to go and do a couple of Monster Jam events. You know, it's like if you play football, you know, you play through middle school, high school, college, you want to go play in the NFL. You want to go play, you know, a Monster Jam basically. And so first year full time driving to go and do Monster Jam, it to this day doesn't feel like those two events even happen. Like they feel like a dream to me, and in a good way, because I mean I've dreamt of that moment my entire life, to, you know, to go out there to have that opportunity. You know, my first event in Salinas, California, a lot of my buddies were there. You know, Tyler Menega, Armando Castro, you know, people that I used to play rigs or odds with. And, you know, now here we are, we're going to line up and actually race the real Monster Jam trucks. And, you know, I would spank both of those guys in rigs or odds all day long. But when it came time for the real Monster Jam trucks, you know, they they definitely whooped on me a little bit there. But that was my first year driving, so everything there at Monster Jam was large, literally larger than life. Everything was massive to me, and so I don't want to say I was intimidated, because I'll hit anything. I'll do anything at least once, right? I'll try anything once. And so honestly, those first 2 Monster Jam events I did, I wasn't looking to go out and win or, make a name for myself. I just wanted to show everybody that, I have what it takes. I could do it. I just wanted to do a good, solid job and, get a pat on the back at the end of the weekend. And that's exactly what, I accomplished. So that's all that I was really looking for those 2 weekends.
You mentioned, rigs or odds, and I come from that, era as well, MTM2. And it's so cool to me, like seeing a guy like Fernando, getting a shot to drive. And I played rigs with him, and even just like the guys that I played MTM2 with. And it's so cool to see your homies that you came up with and spent late nights on Discord or TeamSpeak, and you see them compete. Like I remember getting to see Fernando kick ass in Edmonton this last year, and being like, dude, like 5-6 years ago, we were all playing rigs or odds, and now you're driving El Toro Loco in my favorite hockey team's arena. Like, this is absolutely nuts. And like that, I think that for me, like, even though I've driven a ride truck and still think it Don Frankish, and the dream is still to drive a race truck. I think seeing my friends and the people that I've done this stuff for a long time with drive and be successful is one of the coolest things to see in this industry.
Yeah, no, for sure. We had Fernando on our series last year, 2024, and even then he would bring his laptop, set up rigs or rods, HDMI it to the locker room TV. With me, him, Weston, with Frank Kreml would sit there and play rigs or rods, and then go climb into the actual trucks. And here's the one thing, there is no respawn button when you climb into the actual Monster Jam trucks,
Nope.
So if we could just get one of those implemented, I mean, I think we could push the envelope even more. But no, all joking aside, Fernando all series long would be, taking 3D scans with his phone of the arenas to actually forward that into making it into a content for rigs or rods. And it was cool to see that firsthand, because, like yourself, I used to play rigs or odds with Fernando. I've known Fernando for a long time. So to actually have the chance to go up against them, both of our first years, full years with Monster Jam, that was awesome.
And let's talk about that. Last year you joined Monster Trucks Unlimited, the Stone Crusher team, after, being with Mike Harper for quite a long time. And you were able to compete in your first full season of Monster Jam in the Arena Series. How did all that come about, and the chance to drive for such a legendary team in the sport? Yeah,
so, I always wanted another chance to go compete in Monster Jam, with 2019 being my first year, I was so new to driving. Whenever I drove in Monster Jam, I knew I could do better, and so the opportunity came up. They needed a driver for Stone Crusher, and I wanted another chance. And it really it was a tough decision for me to make, honestly, because I spent a lot of time there with Monster Truck Wars and learned a lot, and taught a lot of people. I was really invested there, but at the same time, here's this opportunity to go and, compete in Monster Jam for a whole year, a whole, series there. And, I had offers that came in, years prior to me taking the offer to go do Stone Crusher, for some other teams and whatnot. And I always told them no. And, I kind of thought about, I could stay here and do this and I'd be happy. I'd still be driving a truck for sure, and living a dream. But 5-6 years down the road, when those opportunities are no longer there for me, I think I'd be upset at myself for not, doing it while I had the chance. And so, Steve Sims reached out to me. I told him, I'm on board. I mean, let's do it. Stone Crusher growing up as a kid was one of my favorite trucks. I have pictures of me and Steve and me and Steven, and heck, me and Frank Krimmel when he drove it, just a couple years prior. And never did I think that I would get the opportunity to drive Stone Crusher, one of the top independent trucks out there in the industry. And so to have that opportunity to drive, but then to also, perform well last year on Arena Championship Series Central, that was a blessing as well. I really pushed the envelopes as much as I could, and with respecting Steve Sims' equipment with his name, and I just tried to do a good job, respect his equipment, respect everybody, and that was just a dream come true. I finished sixth place on that series. I attempted 2 backflips, landed 2 backflips, won a couple of racing competitions, won a skills competition, and I think a donut competition. So, really that was just, I always knew that if I went back and had another chance to drive at Monster Jam, with a little bit more seat time, that everybody out there would see a very different Alex Bardin than when I drove in 2019. And I'm thankful that I was able to show up last year and not only more or less prove to myself that I had what it took to actually go to Monster Jam and be competitive.
And you had a really good teammate with Frank Krimmel, and Frank's been on this podcast quite a few times, and I love Frank. He's just a riot to talk to, and he was actually one of our first guests we ever had live. And how is having him as a teammate, and he's such a veteran of the sport. He's been with Team Scream to the company, and how is it having him with you that season?
Honestly, Frank Krimmel is one of the coolest, if not the coolest dude out there in the monster truck industry. He just the stories of just we would watch old school monster trucks every night, and back at World Finals 10, and when he was in Donkey Kong and stuff like that, when he won fastest qualifier, he taught me a lot, honestly, of how to run in Monster Jam. And I think it was a two-way street. I learned a lot from him, and then in the skills competition, I helped coach him through the skills competition, because that was such a new element to him. For years in Monster Jam, they never did that. That was, anytime the truck got on 2 tires, you would want to throttle out of it. And now it's like the total opposite. You want to, tap the brake. You want to hold it there, put it in reverse. So I really tried my best to coach Frank there, and he would coach me along in some other aspects, the Skywheelie competition, how to get the truck just perfectly vertical, where you don't really damage the truck, but it looks really good. You get a good score and whatnot, and how to fill your time, make your hits and be smart out there. So having a teammate as Frank Krimmel, somebody that I grew up watching, somebody that I grew up idolizing, was awesome to be able to go on the road with him and just share so many memories. That was such a great year with Frank and Stone Crusher for sure. And honestly, I think Frank is the biggest Creed fan in the world, in the world, honestly. And, I'm a Creed fan myself, but not only every night did we watch old school monster trucks and talk about the I wouldn't say the good old days, but the good old days of monster trucks, back in the day. But we would listen to Creed, and we would listen to complete albums every single night in the same order. So, there was times that, Brandon Telechko was on our tour last year as well. He would come in and we'd have Creed blaring at 65 on the TV. And I think now if Scott ever stepped away from Creed as the lead singer, I could go and fill Scott's spot, because I think I know the lyrics to every single Creed song better than the band Creed themselves. But no, honestly, it was a great time being on the road with Frank. And honestly, couldn't have asked for a better teammate to be there and experience it all with.
Well, Cheech has popped his head in the chat, and he's asking you a question. He says, how is it racing with Cheechers in Pittsburgh?
You know what? That was honestly a fun event. That was probably one of my favorite events we did last year was Monsters versus Megas there at the Pittsburgh Motor Speedway. And they had a really complex straight line racing track there. So the jumps were big. They had a big roller as the second jump. You didn't want to air it out. You wanted to just kind of skim right over the top and, grease the downside. And it was me and Cheech in the finals there on Friday. And I'll tell you, Cheech got me off the line. I go back and I watched that race a lot. Cheech got me off the line. I made up the ground right over that second jump. And I know Cheech is going back this year. I know that's his hometown event. And, he's going to get a win there for sure. I mean, but that was awesome. It was a good lineup of trucks. It was a good event. Awesome track. I wish we were going back this year because it was a lot of fun there for sure.
Another guy popping his head in here is old MJ. He says, Alejandro.
What's up, MJ? Hey, man, I watched Tony Oak's video there from Laredo. Mad props on wrenching on El Toro Loco, man. That was sweet. I was, obviously, you come from Bill Payne and you know how to work on trucks. So it's awesome to see you right in there in the thick of it to get your truck back out there. So mad props to you, man. That was sweet.
Yeah, Cheech getting in there, helping out, and just
that's what, everybody.
That's what I love about this sport. It doesn't matter if you're a company truck or who you're with. It's a family, and that's just the one thing I love about it. Another kind of cool thing with last year is you got to fill in a little bit. You mentioned Brendan Telechka earlier. You got to fill in for that team for a little bit. How was that experience?
That was awesome. And if you would have asked me in January, what was it? We did 2 in October, 1 in November. If you would have asked me in January towards the end of the year, if I was going to be driving, just to get her done Gen 2, I would have said no, because in Nashville, I really didn't introduce myself to them. I'm kind of a shy person. I kind of just stay to myself, so to speak. So honestly, I became friends with that whole family, that whole team, just because, we were parked on the same end of the floor in all these arenas. So we would be standing watching, in the same side tunnel. And so I'd be talking to Brandon or talking to Michaela or, Bryce, their youngest son, or Mitch, their dad. And we just became really, that whole family and we just became really close friends. And so it was awesome to get the opportunity to drive the Just Get Her Done 2 truck for sure. I mean, that is, I take a lot of pride in that offer and that opportunity because honestly, I know Zimmer Jr. drove it one weekend in Tampa, but I'm the only person to actually drive that truck what I believe the last name is not Telechka. And so, that is MK Motorsports' flagship truck. That is the truck that Brandon's dad made. He built that name, he built that brand. And so to have the opportunity to drive that truck, to compete in Monster Jam with that truck, it meant a lot to me because it wasn't only, oh, we trust you, like representing our team. It was, oh, we trust you to represent our family because that's a family team. And honestly, the whole MK Motorsports team, the Telechka family, the nicest people in the monster truck industry. I can't tell you how many times Mitch and Brandon stayed up and helped me, and Bobby Powers and Frank Kremel, James Cunningham, or the Stone Crusher team last year helped us rebuild transmissions just so we could compete the following day. And, they didn't have to do that, but they did because that's the kind of people they are. That's the kind of family they are. Just hearts of gold. And I'm still close friends with everybody over there. So, I watch them on the East Series there. Brandon, Michaela, they're all doing a great job. So it was an absolute honor to drive that truck for sure.
One of the very first shows I ever got to do club help was here in Grand Prairie for Monster Truck Throwdown. And Mitch was there. It was when his first Just Get Her Done truck. And I think Shane Freed was in Robo Machine. I'm pretty sure that's the 2 trucks he had back then, and he was cool to me as well back then. And, can't say anything but nice things about those guys. But guys, we're going to take a quick little second here, play a quick advertisement for Monster Truck Attitude, and then we will get right back into our conversation. So stay tuned, guys.
Are you ready to get in on the action here on the Monster Truck Attitude YouTube channel? Look no further. Head over to Facebook where you can sign up for all the great events we host right here on the MTA YouTube channel. Be sure to sign up for the events and register your name and get locked in with a monster truck of your own and get ready for the great thrills and spills right here on the MTA YouTube channel. Again, find us on Facebook, register for these events, and you soon will be competing in all the great events. We hope to see you there. And get ready for the wild and crazy action. Be sure to subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss a beat right here on the Monster Truck Attitude YouTube channel.
Again, a huge thank you to Steve Jones and MTA for their support with the podcast. You know, so people, I feel like people were kind of shocked just to find out that you had left the Monster Trucks Unlimited team, and now you're part of, I think, is one of the fastest growing monster truck teams that we've seen in quite a long time in Team Throttle Monster. What Mike Christensen and Paul Jensen have built over the last however many years they've been around has been such an amazing thing to see. The drivers that they have there, and now including yourself. And the cool thing is you're reunited with one of your teammates in Berto Trevino. Talk about that whole situation, how that came about to join Team Throttle Monster.
Yeah, so actually going into the 2025 season, I was not going to do anything monster truck related. Me stepping away from the Stone Crusher team actually was, I had a family emergency that came up back at home in Texas, and I couldn't deal with it being in Virginia Beach. And so I was actually going to step away from the industry for this year. And that was the reasoning of me, leaving from the Stone Crusher group. And, went home, and, the opportunity came up for, Throttle Monster to go run the Earthshaker Monster Jam truck there on Arena Championship Series West. And things still weren't going good with the family back at home. So I really, I told Mike, I'm interested, but don't want to tell you yes, don't want to tell you no, because I don't really know what I'm doing. Things improved with my family's health there back home, and spoke with my mom and dad and my girlfriend Maddie, and they all kind of said, you got to go do it. You got to go do it. It's it's Team Throttle Monster. It's one of the premier independent teams out there. It's Earthshaker, it's a Monster Jam identity, and it would be a great opportunity. So, I thought long and hard about it, because like I said, I wasn't going to do anything monster truck related this year. That would have been the first time since 2012 that I didn't do something, and I shouldn't say something this year, at least first quarter wise. And, I thought long and hard about it, and, I made up my decision after talking to my mom and dad, and, like I said, my girlfriend, Maddie, and called Mike Christensen and told him to sign me up. And, here I am now with Team Throttle Monster, driving the Earthshaker Monster Jam truck. It's awesome.
Yeah. And Team Throttle is such an amazing team. And they have such an amazing list of drivers that people have driven for them. Too Tall, Tim Hall Jr., Devin, and even Devin, you were with Mike Harper. I think Devin started with Harper as well. So that must be really cool to reunite with those guys and under a new umbrella, and just, the friendships, you're able to hang with with the boys again. I think that's probably really awesome for you as well.
Yeah. And like you just said, I had a lot of friends over here, Devin Winfield, Berto Trevino, and even Mason Paul. Mason Paul was with Jimmy Cretin whenever I actually drove in 2019 for him, and I've known Mason Paul a long time, and that dude busts his butt, for sure, working on these throttle trucks, and so I had a lot of friends over here as well. So when the chance came up to kind of reunite with them and run a Monster Jam Arena Series with them, I was like, it was almost like the stars aligned. I wasn't going to get the yeah, I might get the offer again, but who knows what the future holds. If maybe 2 years down the road, it might just be me, or it might, me and Devin or me and Berto, or, who knows? No one knows what the future holds, right? But so right here at the immediate future, it could be me, Devin, and Berto and Mason all together again. And, I had to go and do that for sure.
And you mentioned Mason, one of the hardest working men in monster trucks. I'm saying that. I've seen it firsthand. I tried to help him as much as I could in Edmonton, but that dude does not know the definition of quit. Like, I am so whenever he gets the chance to drive, I get so hyped because that dude deserves it more than anybody else in the industry. And this is my opinion. Oh,
no, I mean, absolutely. Mason, he's put in the sweat equity for sure, the blood, sweat, and tears. And, I'm sure he's going to get an opportunity to drive at some point again, because, he works too hard. He does too much. And he's a great kid. He's got a great personality, a good head on his shoulders. And, like what Scott Douglas always said, what makes a good driver is a better mechanic. And he's definitely a good mechanic. So I'm sure that opportunity will be coming for him.
So, there's a bit of an elephant in the room, if you can consider it, and, your first weekend out, getting used to a new truck and a new chassis with that metal shop chassis. Talk about that first weekend out, because I think it was the first weekend where everything kind of happened, I believe. Talk about that first weekend and just everything that kind of went on during that weekend and leading up, even leading up to your first weekend in Earthshaker.
Yeah, so my first day up in Utah at the shop was December 3rd. Got there and immediately started working on the metal shop chassis, getting that thing ready to go for, 2025. The Monster Jam Arena Series, they're not a sprint, they're a marathon. Our Arena Series is, I think, the only one that doesn't have a break. It's 20 consecutive weekends. And so I was just getting everything, checking over every little nook and cranny on this truck, on this chassis, to make sure it was as close to 100% as it possibly could be for the start of the year. We showed up on a Thursday. We ran some practice events. We had 2 practice events where we raced, did skills, donuts and freestyle and everything. Was really able to shake things down at that, during those 2 practice events. And then, I felt confident, that the truck was great. I was getting really comfortable in it. The one thing that was a lot different of the metal shop chassis than any truck I've ever driven was the weight. It actually weighed a lot more than any other monster truck I've ever driven. I kind of struggled in the skills during the practice events to get it to stand up, because I had to commit a whole lot sooner and a lot more with the throttle. But come time for the first event of the year on Friday, I was able to figure that out. And you would think I was driving that truck for 2-3 years. We started out the year going really strong, really shaking things up, really, coming out with something to prove, something to build on from last year. And made it to the semifinals, the first event out, and lost a close one in the semifinals to Brianna Mahan. She's an incredibly talented Monster Jam athlete. So competed with her all last year in 2024. Awesome that she's with us again in 2025. Same with Weston. We go into freestyle that first event. We have a good run. We're not in contention for overall or anything. So really use that first freestyle to kind of, get more acclimated to the truck. And I think I finished like 4th or 5th in that freestyle competition, and then 4th place overall in the points. We fast forward to Saturday afternoon, the first event on Saturday, and building upon that success in racing from the previous day, running through the bracket. Me and Cody Saucier in the finals. Cody Saucier is somebody that, honestly, I see a lot of myself in him. He started with the club help, hanging banners and plastic with his dad in Las Vegas and whatnot. And I think Cody and we share a lot of the same pathway to get to the driver's seat for sure. You know, he went from, you know, club help to technician to crew chief to, you know, now Monster Jam driver. And my pathway kind of mirrors his a little bit. So Cody's a guy that I look up to a lot in the monster truck industry for sure. And so to be able to be with him this year was awesome. And, you know, it's me and him in the finals, and I have him going into the last turn. And then, you know, he's the, I think 2022 or 2023, or maybe both of those years, Arena Racer of the Year. And I mean, he's proven it time and time again. He is tough to beat in racing, whether it's a stadium, whether it's a speedway, whether it's an arena. Cody Saucier is not there to play, and so he took me to school right there in the JCB Racing in the final round. You know, going to skills, you know, the next element, really, really good. Finished third place, put me right in. I was leading the event, going into halftime, and Paul Jensen was there. Talked to Paul at halftime, and you know, told him, you know, I'm right there. It's the hometown event for Team Throttle Monster. All of the team sponsors were right there in the stands, and I would love nothing more than to put a Team Throttle Monster truck on top of that pod and, you know, win it for you guys here. And we talked about doing the backflip and freestyle, and they were all on board and said if I was comfortable doing it, then, you know, go ahead and do it. And so donuts, didn't place too well in donuts. I think I got 5th or 6th in donuts. And going into freestyle, I was 1 point behind, I think, the lead overall. And Cody Saucier goes out, nails the backflip right before me. And he was the truck I was 1 point behind, and I knew what I had to do if I wanted to put the Earthshaker truck up on top. And so we go out there on the track for freestyle, and I'm ready to shake it up, you know. And we have a great run going, great momentum, big air, nice sky wheelies, and you know, line up for the backflip jump. And you know, I landed 2 of them, you know, the year prior in 2024, so I was batting 100%, and just truck didn't rotate around enough, and you know, took a hard hit, got banged up, and you know, that I'm not going to say put an end to my season, because I will be back, but took me out for a little bit. And you know, but you know, it is what it is. You know, the way that I see it, I was bummed out for about a day, you know, because I was excited to be back in Monster Jam, excited to, you know, drive Earthshaker and be back with Devin and Berto and just have fun, you know, and to run another full series. You know, I really was looking forward to all that. So I was bummed out for about a day, but I was only bummed out for about a day because the way that I look at life is everything happens for a reason, you know?
Exactly.
And when things happen, you have 2 options. You can either roll with the punches and get back up, or roll with the punches and stay knocked down. And there's always light at the end of the tunnel, and the light at the end of my tunnel is returning to Arena Championship Series West, climbing back into that Earthshaker Monster Jam truck and going back out there and shaking up the competition, because I can promise you I'm going to be an absolute threat whenever I get back behind the wheel of that truck, because I've been able to watch, you know, mad props to, you know, Carson Williams and Corey Rummel to come out there and fill in and do a great job. But when I get back behind the wheel of that Earthshaker Monster Jam truck, you know, I'm going out there with vengeance. You know, I'm ready to go, and I'm ready to go out there and have fun for sure. And you know, I missed out on the majority of the year with Monster Jam, but you know what? There's always next year and the year after that, and who knows, you know. But you know, I'm just fortunate enough that I'm still here. I'm still able to, you know, to get around. I'm fortunate that I'm going to be able to have another opportunity to get back behind the wheel, because you know, it could have always been worse. You know, anytime a truck lands upside down on the top of the cage, it could always have been worse. And I'll be back, and I'm fortunate that I'll be back, and that That's all I'll say about that.
And like, I know that I can see the hunger and just the passion when you're speaking there, and I love that. And you mentioned a guy, Carson Williams. I gotta send him a shout out, my dude. First event he did in Edmonton, winning racing, his first event, being there for that was so freaking cool. And to see him, now driving the orange Velociraptor, and also huge shout out to Team Throttle with the content you guys have been putting out on YouTube. Like, I watched the event from the All-Star event, you guys working on the trucks, and like that team is just killing it right now. And just with Carson, like I love seeing his progression. Nope. Are you still there, Alex? Hello? Hello? Still there?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. You're I don't see you on the screen. I was like, wait a second, what happened? But like,
You got me?
Yeah, I got you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, sweet. But like Team Throttle is just such a great team, and what Mike and Paul have built, and adding you, and I can't wait to see you back in that seat, because like you said, you're coming back with a vengeance. These guys and girls, they don't know what you're about to do, and you're going to be a spoiler in a lot of these events, I feel like, once you come back.
Yeah, and I think that's the perfect thing. Earthshaker, we're sitting 8th place in the points, and honestly, like, I would love to win a points title. I would love to win a points series, but that's never what it's about to me. It's always about making sure the fans have a good time at Monster Jam, myself living a dream, and then hopefully inspiring someone else to follow their dreams. So I tell you what, I'm sitting 8th place in points, but when I get back behind the wheel, I want to be an absolute thorn in the other 7 athletes' side, because I'm there to shake up the point standings, no pun intended. Because, if they want to win racing, they're going to have to go through me. If they want to win skills, they're going to have to go through me. And I'm not there to disrespect Mike Christensen's equipment. I've always respected everybody's equipment. I've done the best that I can. Respected the trucks, respected the team, and I'm going to go do a good job, but I'm going to make them all earn it for sure.
So we got a couple of fan questions here to end out the episode. Question from Smooths on YouTube. Any venues that you haven't got to run at, whether Indy or Monster Jam, that you'd love to run?
Honestly, I would love to run. The top venue there is going to be NRG Stadium in Houston, Texas. I've been to so many Monster Jam events there, and I really, really want the opportunity to drive an event there for sure. To compete in NRG Stadium would be the ultimate for me. I would rather compete in NRG Stadium than the Monster Jam World Finals. Houston, Texas has played such a pivotal role in my upbringing in the monster truck industry that, I want to compete there. I have family there. I have friends there. And that would be the ultimate for me to have the opportunity to compete there in Houston. So I would say NRG Stadium is a place that I would love to compete in for sure.
I believe this is your girlfriend there, Madeline Embry. It says, "Let's go, Alex," and sent you a couple hearts during the episode.
Yep, she's one of my biggest supporters, if not my biggest supporter. I'm thankful for her every day for putting up with me and letting me go out and do this. She's still back in Texas and I'm out here in Utah right now. So it's tough being, long distance relationship, type of deal, but I'm just thankful that, she understands it. She gets that this is what I do. This is what I want to do. This is my dream. And I'm just happy that she's there and she supports me with it.
And that's huge, man. Having somebody in your corner like that, like I can say for me, like my wife, like, yeah, she gets annoyed with my monster truck obsessions at times. And how many times I've bought in Dixon flannels over the last couple of years, but like having somebody that just has your back and wants to see you succeed is such a huge importance. And I love
Absolutely.
hearing that from you, man. Our buddy, Kirk Nagy, always watching the episodes, always commenting. Much love, Kirk. Says, question for Alex. Looking back at the identities you got to drive during your time with Mike Harper and Monster Truck Wars, was there one identity that you were most proud of having driven?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I've driven just about almost every identity, down there out of the Monster Truck Wars fleet. I want to say probably the truck that I was the most proud of was El Oso Loco. That was a truck that I spent two full years in, and we campaigned that truck and really kind of put its name on the map in some of those, places that we went to. And honestly, that whole truck, that whole idea came about, down in South Texas. The Hispanic population makes up a large percentage of the fans that came out to our events. So we wanted a truck that, every fan could identify with, that we had the sheriff truck, we had El Oso Loco. So to kind of be that image, to be that truck, to support that, that fan base. So I took a lot of pride in that. I took a lot of pride in being the only El Oso Loco out there.
Is it true that you went under a different name when you were driving that truck at times, though?
Oh gosh, yes. So, when I drove, it's weird. So when I drove El Oso Loco, yes, I was Alex Rodriguez. You can go to the Monster Truck wiki, and you can see under my page, it says nicknames Alex Rodriguez. That came from El Oso Loco, which it kind of, it was cool. I mean, I get it, Hispanic truck, Hispanic driver. I get it. The one downside to that was since I was the Hispanic truck, we would do some events, deep in South Texas where a lot of people spoke Spanish, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I can speak Spanish fluently, but it takes me a minute if somebody comes up and talks in Spanish. It takes me a minute to understand what they said, like comprehend it and break it down, and then I can reply. But everybody would come up to me and speak in Spanish, and I'm like, oh no. This is not good. But no, I mean, it was all fun for sure. But yes, Alex Rodriguez drove El Oso Loco at times, but at times Alex Bardin drove El Oso Loco. It just depended.
Huge shout out to awesome guy Pat Roy. Was always down there doing events with you guys. He says, thanks for being a role model, friend, and a teacher to me, man.
Yeah, Pat, he was down from Texas for a little bit there. I believe he moved to Florida now. But yes. He came out to our shows in Midland and Glen Rose, and anytime that he wanted to come out and help, I gave him the chance to come out and help. He always did a good job, so I'm, somebody let me, Harper let me help out for the first time. So if somebody wants to come and help out and get their foot in the door, I'm 100% going to let them, come and help out because, somebody gave me an opportunity, and I would like to extend that opportunity to others now.
And this last one, I believe, might be your mom or somebody in your family. The name on here is Gretel Chris DeWolf Bardin.
Yep, that's my mom.
Okay, she says, you have taught lots of drivers. The whole state of Texas is proud of you. Yeah,
I've taught a lot of people how to drive a monster truck. That's for sure. And it's cool. It's cool to see how far a lot of them have come now and what they can do. And honestly, some of the people I taught, it's hard to keep up with them now. I guess I taught everybody too well. I taught them all my secrets, but no, I mean, no. And that's just the way I am. I've taught, when Berto started to drive, when Devin started to drive, Preston started to drive, all those guys, I taught them as if, it was somebody teaching me to drive. I taught them every little trick, every little detail. I mean, everything, I didn't teach them to give me an advantage to beat them on the track. That's not the way I am. I wanted to teach them for them to unlock their full potential, and seeing what those guys do now, I mean, I never taught any of them how to do stoppies or moonwalks, so they figured all that out on their own for sure. But no, I'm super proud of all those guys and how they continue to evolve and grow behind the wheel of a monster truck for sure.
Hey, hopefully one day you'll add a fat Canadian redneck to the people that you've taught to drive.
Come on with it.
Dude, that's still the goal, man. That's still the goal. I'm 34 and, trying to lose weight, but damn it, the goal still is to get behind the wheel of a race truck. Either to do a badass slab wheelie or a bumper dragon sky wheelie. I'm still old school fan at heart. I'd rather prefer a badass slab wheelie or a badass sky wheelie over a stoppie or moonwalk any day of the week. That's just my opinion.
Oh yeah, like all the new moves, I'm gonna call them, that we do with the monster trucks now. Stoppies, moonwalks, poppers. They're cool. They take a lot of skill to do a lot of finesse, and they're definitely cool. But I don't think anything will ever beat a good old slap wheelie where you hit the jammer, slap the front end down, and then ride that baby all the way across the stadium floor. I know the fans love it, and I know I still love it too.
Well, Alex, thank you for coming on the show tonight. It was awesome to have you on. Definitely going to have you on again, and I'll see you in Salt Lake for World Finals, buddy.
Absolutely. I'll be there. Thank you for having me. It was an honor to chat with you and to hang out with everybody else.
Oh yeah, guys. And, before I forget, check up on your friends and family. Mental health is a very important thing. If you're struggling or going through anything, please reach out to somebody. Your life is worth more than losing it. As Cheech always says, get your pet spayed or neutered, donate blood. And guys, we will see you next week. And as we said for 10 years, keep the rubber side down and the shiny side up, everybody. Peace.